All right, Shane, you are on.
Where did you go?
All right.
What's up with you?
Let me start off by saying that Mr. Kirkham is the worst teacher that I've ever had and should be removed from his job. How many of you like to express your voice in the pulpit? That's good. That is made possible because of the freedom of speech. And let me say that Mr. Kirkham is actually a very good teacher. I should use that as an example for my speech. I'm sure that a lot of you have voiced your opinions many times in your lives, stretching ideas about what you think of your horrible boss, or maybe telling someone off because you didn't like what they had to say. Or you could say something good to make someone happy. It is all possible because of the handy principle of freedom of speech. So with that said, today I'll be discussing what freedom of speech means, its history, and why it is important to you. The first thing I would like you to grasp is the definition of freedom of speech. It states that freedom of speech is the freedom to speak freely without censorship. Now, to further explain censorship, it is the suppression of speech for other public communications which may be considered objectionable, harmful, sensitive, or inconvenient to the general body of people, as determined by a government, media outlet, or controlled body. An example of censorship would be that you are listening to the radio and you hear your favorite song, and all of a sudden there's a word in there, and you know there is, but it just got bleeped out, and you're like, what the hell? Just say the damn word. They can't say it because it would be inappropriate for children, and parents would not want them to hear it. So this would be basically an example of something that freedom of speech is not. To give you an example of something that is an example of freedom of speech, here's a quote from one of the most famous speeches made. I have a dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out its true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. This is a quote from Martin Luther King, and most of you heard it. It was at the Lincoln Memorial in 1963. Martin is showing a great model of freedom of speech because he is expressing his opinions without censorship. Martin is talking about a huge issue of discrimination against blacks based on their race. And it is important to talk to them that it was not really important to the majority of white Caucasians people at this time, thus expressing his freedom of speech. Now that you have an idea about what freedom of speech means, let's take a look at a little history on the subject. In 1789, a man by the name of James Madison, also known as the father of the Constitution and the fourth President of the United States, had introduced the Bill of Rights in the first United States Congress with a series of legislative articles. The Bill of Rights has a total of 10 amendments. However, in the United States Constitution, there are a total of 27 amendments, but only 10 of them are considered the Bill of Rights. The reason for this is because in 1791, there were only 10 amendments ratified. To ratify an amendment, you must have 2/3 of the majority vote from Congress and 3/4 of the vote from the states. So the Bill of Rights means the first of amendments. Within these articles lays the First Amendment, which is the freedom of speech, religion, and press. Note, the Bill of Rights is an important part of the United States because it limits the power of the United States government to an extent at which you and I gain power. Now what I mean is that as long as the Bill of Rights stays in power, we as the people are forever protected by them, and the government cannot do anything to stop the system from staying within the limits. Going through the history of freedom of speech, I hope has brought you a better understanding on the topic. So let's get into the part that reflects you as a people and the importance of freedom of speech brings you. First off, it is important to every person living in the United States. Having such a right gives you more possibilities to strive for and gives you the ability to be your own person. You can express how you feel whenever you like, whether it be at a convention, school ceremony, job interview, or even a grand event such as Martin Luther King speech. Your voice is so powerful that without it, there would be no revolution, or battle emotion. It is the ability that is a privilege to have. You can better your community or just better yourself. In conclusion, I hope that all the information that I've shared with you has been of good use to you. Because it is an important part of our society from person to person and from nation to nation. Sharing your ideas is a special part of living in such a great nation. If you have no right of speech, then life would be a boring place. There would be no self-expression, interesting ideas, or even a right to call something their own. It is a privilege to have such a superb right. If one man or woman had an opinion, then they should have the right to further their thoughts without being prosecuted by the law or others. It is a new day when people share what is important to them, and I'm grateful for it. And I hope you are as well too. Thank you.
So Luke, tell us what you thought.
Well, you summarized you gave a quick preview of what you were going to present in your speech, and you stay on topic very well. So that was a very good job. You had very good transitions while we were getting into a different topic. But I feel that I personally felt you were a little quiet, so I think you could have projected a little more. And in addition, you read a lot of the notes, and you didn't have a lot of eye contact with the audience. I also thought your visuals didn't really add much to your presentation, and I feel like when you were talking about Martin Luther King, that you forgot to show the picture, and it wouldn't add that much when you finally saw his picture by the end of that segment. So that's what I.
All right. On the visuals, I can understand what you're talking about. They mostly just seem like placeholders for the different sections. They're not adding any information to the speech. They're just kind of a reminder. Here's where we are in the presentation. Sort of like the ring girls holding up the numbers between rounds at the boxing match or something like that. It's like, okay, here's where we are next. And they don't hurt the speech, but they don't really add anything to it. They don't make it particularly memorable. I thought that the high point of the speech was the attention device. Everybody responded pretty quickly. You got a nice emotional reaction from people going, oh, and surprise, I'm going, not good audience analysis on this, because I'm writing your grade right now. But you tied it in nicely to the topic that you're talking about and the sense of importance of that particular subject, and I thought that was pretty successful. I still think that the topic stays very general in nature. You've got a structure and you're signposting as you're going along, but it still feels a high degree of abstractness to it. I feel a little bit like we're going around in circles on the concept over and over again. I think you want to focus or maybe add for interest purposes or for illustrative purposes some dramatic examples of when freedom of speech might have been threatened in American history, times when we were not consistent, for instance, with our value of free speech. You make the one reference, for instance, to a piece of music where they bleep out a word, and that's as close to any controversy as we get. After that, there aren't any illustrations except the general kinds of things that people have moved others by their speech. Heck, we've got events going on right now that involve people protesting or engaging in behavior. Is that all protected speech? Is that something that's going to change anything? Have there been other movements that have worked that way? Martin Luther King's speech is the apex of that